Hello. Hi. Um, Thank you guys for tuning in. This is a pleasure and a privilege to be here with a special friend, Ann Doughty, who is in her last year of medical school. And I'm just very excited to be sharing some information with you. First of all, I want to thank you, Ann, for being willing to take on this project with me. This was just something that was born out of a genuine care and concern for the people around me. And I know that this is a very confusing and just exhausting time. So I just want to address and present information in a way that helps you to digest everything that's going on and also to make an informed decision. Um, so, this video will highlight some of the frequently asked questions regarding the COVID vaccine, um, and we hope that it will help ease any fear or anxiety. We want you to know that the fear that surrounds all of this is not invalid. It's something that a lot of people are experiencing, and we just want you to understand that it's okay. It is overwhelming, but we also want you to have the opportunity to make an informed decision. So, as far as making this video, and I'll turn it over to you and to just kind of explain why you decided to join me on this journey.
Definitely. And thanks for thinking of me when you sent out the text about like working on this. I think I couldn't agree more that like when I look at all the different things that have been happening over the year and just the way that I've been able to process it because we've been given the opportunity to study science, like it helped me kind of work through some of the different challenges and understand the material that's being put out there. And hopefully we can kind of make it simple for people we love and we care and we know, and that, same thing that you're saying, like we don't want to force decisions on people, but like these are some of the things that went through my mind as I was making the decision to get the vaccine for myself. So I don't know if that helps anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. And in case for those who don't know, Anne and I did study in college together. We went through many labs together, um, mixing up stuff. So we're very familiar with reading scientific data, interpreting, and understanding. So we want to present this in a way that everyone can understand. And as far as me personally, I feel like as someone who works in healthcare, who is surrounded by patients, I feel like it's my responsibility to address and to present these things in a way that brings people understanding. I never want to send a wrong message. And I also am just genuinely excited for what has happened in science. These things, as geeky as it sounds, excite me. So I'm just genuinely enthusiastic about this whole thing. And I think that this is a small light at the end of a very long and dark tunnel. And hopefully, this is what will start the turnaround for us as a society. So, Anne and I actually received our first dose of the COVID vaccine. Anne received hers on Monday, December 28th. I received my first dose on Tuesday, December 29th. I received Moderna, and Anne received the Pfizer vaccine. So, Anne, how was it? How'd it go?
It was, I don't want to say awesome, but it was good in the sense that like I really didn't have any side effects. I know that's something that everybody's kind of concerned about. And it was just kind of like this history in the making moment for me to like sit there and realize like, one, wow, I can't believe that I'm counting the number that gets to go in this first wave. But two, like it is that small sense of hope for the future, in that like this is something that we've got to live through and see people really invest their gifts and talents in, and then like here it is and you're sitting here receiving it. So it was pretty cool in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was definitely excited. I like ran into my appointment. I was ready. Like, here's my arm. But yeah, as far as side effects, of course, my arm was sore for almost 2 days. It was like a day and a half. And the day after, I did have somewhat of a mild headache, but I'm not sure if that was more so because I worked a crazy shift at work, or it was due to the vaccine. But either way, I felt fine. I took 2 Tylenols and I was fine. So yeah, I'm happy that we both got it. We survived. So hopefully that'll be add some sort of credibility. Um, and yeah, so let's dive into it. So we're just gonna address some of the frequently asked questions or some of the general concerns of the vaccine itself. So first of all, as far as vaccine safety, um, the vaccine is safe. Uh, Scientifically, in order for a vaccine to make it through the process that it made through, has to go through various clinical trials, which were done. Um, no steps were skipped in the process. And also the participants, as far as the study, were followed for 2 months after receiving the second dose of the vaccine. And the FDA agreed that it was deemed a safe vaccine, both of them. As far as whether or not it's FDA approved, we just want to make it clear that there's no vaccine that's out right now that is FDA approved. It is an emergency use authorization, which kind of gives it, makes it available because of the emergency situation that we are in. So yes, as far as Moderna versus Pfizer, I got Moderna and got Pfizer. Is there really a major difference, Anne?
No. So when you look at the data for both, kind of, it's available on the internet. We could maybe link it or somehow. They're basically the same. Both of them are mRNA, which is basically this part of or this material that is used to help build a piece of information so that your body can recognize like the threat of COVID, right? So let's make it like facial recognition, if that helps. I don't know if that's jumping too far ahead, but imagine you're learning how to be a soldier, and a soldier is going to fight the enemy. You need to learn what the enemy looks like in order to fight it well. So that's kind of the goal of like Pfizer, Moderna, both of them. Both of them teach you how to fight the same type of enemy. And really the only difference between them is that one maybe like wears a blue uniform while the other wears a green. So it's the outside covering of the vaccine itself that's different. And that, the fancy term for it is a lipid. But there's really no difference otherwise in terms of like their effectivities, like almost identical. The profile of the populations they used was pretty much the same that you would see in any vaccine trial, all of that.
Right. I also think that it just depends on the availability. I know I got mine through my county because I'm a healthcare worker. So I think they just got Moderna off the bat. So that's just happened to be the one that I got. So it's really whatever is in stock to wherever facility you're getting your vaccine from. So you shouldn't be too concerned of which one over the other. I think it's best to just get the first one that's available to you. And as far as just to add on to what you said, Anne, because of the fact that both vaccines were used with a slightly different material as far as the lipid, which Anne mentioned, that is the reason why they have to be stored at different temperatures. And that's really a major difference, is that the Pfizer vaccine has to be stored at negative 94 degrees Fahrenheit, which I know because 94 is the year I was born. And Moderna has to be stored, I believe, at negative 4 degrees, which is similar to like a regular freezer. Um, so that being said, don't be surprised if you see that a lot of like local pharmacies, doctors' offices, things that are more so public health related are seeing a lot of Moderna vaccines just because it's easier to store. So it's more cost effective to give Moderna. It does not mean that it's any less effective or that it's any different than Pfizer. So we just want to put that out there. Now, as far as side effects, so Anne and I spoke a little bit about the side effects that we had. Definitely soreness at the site that's expected with any vaccine. There's really no way around it. It's being injected into your muscle. So yes, there's some localized soreness, swelling. It's common. I know that was just the worst of it for me. Was I couldn't really lift my arm past like this angle. Now, you may say, well, why do some people get a low-grade fever, body aches, somewhat of fatigue, some people get headaches? That is just a sign that your immune system is kicking into gear. And those are actually good signs. If you get those side effects, don't be alarmed. And also, just because maybe you had side effects and someone else didn't, doesn't mean the vaccine worked better in one person versus another. It's just everyone's immune system reacts differently. And as far as we want also to highlight the difference of side effects versus adverse reactions. So, and do you want to talk a little bit about adverse reactions?
Definitely. I think I want it sticking with that idea of like a soldier being trained for like war, right? Pfizer, Moderna are like your drill sergeants and your body's in boot camp. So the expected side effects are things you would expect when you're going through boot camp. Like you're gonna be sore because you're running in a way that you haven't ran before, right? You're gonna be sore because you're climbing and jumping. Well, your body's learning how to recognize something that's foreign to it, and it's gonna have this expected outcome. Adverse effects would be like if you were at boot camp and then like you were actually injured from it. Like if your drill sergeant like maybe punched you for real and then you had to go to the hospital because they went a little too far. So some of the adverse effects that people are concerned about might be something for someone who has like that severe allergic reaction where we're saying, okay, I got this thing and now I'm having difficulty breathing. I didn't expect to have that problem. The good news is for both of them, the reports for those are not high. If they were, they wouldn't have made it through into being safe. Both trials used about 30,000 people, which is like a fair number for a vaccine trial. And so there's 15,000 people who would have gotten the actual like vaccine and 15,000 who got like placebos. So things that really didn't like do anything for you. And when you look at those two and compare them, like the people who actually got like injured from their boot camp experience was not that many, is pretty much none. So when you're hearing things in the news like, oh, if you have an allergy, like you might want to be cautious. The concern is if you have an allergy to something that the vaccine is made up from, not just if you have an allergy in general, if that makes sense. And hopefully that helps ease if it some concerns if you have an allergy per se.
Right. And definitely, we just want to also just put out there we are future healthcare professionals. So, obviously, if you have legitimate concerns, do not run and get the vaccine. Talk to your healthcare provider. Let them know what your concerns are. If you know you have a history of adverse reactions to any like new either medicine or if you've had an adverse reaction to a vaccine in the past, absolutely run it by your healthcare provider just to be safe. The good thing is that there are healthcare professionals running these sites, whether it's at a hospital, whether it's at a clinic or a pharmacy, and they're trained to handle some of these things. They would get you the care and the help that you need. And just to mention, I know for me, after I received my vaccine, I went into a holding area for 15 minutes just to kind of make sure that there were no adverse reactions and they just kind of watched, for anything that might have occurred, which didn't, thankfully. I felt fine. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And could I add
Um,
to that actually?
yeah.
So I just thought also like if you're someone who has an allergy and you've been concerned like, oh, these vaccines won't work for me, hopefully like what we're saying will help you realize like it's not hopeless and you're not counted out of the group, but you just want to take the extra precautions because you're aware that you may have something that's a little different than the average quote unquote person, but it doesn't mean that you yourself cannot get the resources and help and the information that you need to make the best decision possible.
Absolutely. And again, this is research that's fresh every single day. They're releasing information by the day. As we speak, there's new information coming out. So that's why they're advising people who are outside of the population age group to not get the vaccine just yet. That being children under the age of 18 for Moderna. I'm not sure if Pfizer tested anyone under 18.
I think they did. Both trials had like pediatric patients or children patients, but they didn't approve them yet because there's a scaling down process that you do with every vaccine before you immunize the youngest of our the human race.
And also pregnant women were excluded from the study. So again, if those are some concerns you have, absolutely address it with your primary care provider. And as far as the vaccine itself, contrary to some belief, I won't say popular belief, but you cannot get COVID from getting the vaccine. I know there was an article that came out a couple days ago about a medical professional who got the vaccine and then about 5 or 6 days later developed COVID. That wasn't from the vaccine. It was likely that he was already exposed to the virus prior to getting the vaccine. He was asymptomatic for however many days, and then he became symptomatic and got tested. Again, you're not being injected with a live vaccine. This is an mRNA, which will in turn signal the cells in your body to create this spike protein that in turn your immune system will recognize. And that's the goal of the vaccine. It's not that we're injecting you, or not we, they, with an actual live virus. It's not the case. So no, it is scientifically impossible to get COVID from the vaccine itself. And as far as mRNA, I know that word is just being thrown around. And do you want to kind of explain that in a way that people can understand?
Yeah, I think it's a term, I guess that's kind of familiar to us. It takes us both back, I think, to our Principles 1 class in undergrad, which was your first introduction to biology. Basically, if you look at the body, there's a system for how proteins are made, and proteins make up things like your muscles. Like when you think about, oh, I'm going to get stronger, so I'm going to eat an egg for breakfast, you wanting to boost your protein so you can have strong muscles. Well, there's the same thing. So DNA, which most of us are maybe familiar with, is the like first original copy of information for your cells as a living organism. And in order to get from DNA, which we can't see with our eyes, to you as a human being standing in front of us, you have to go through this process that's kind of considered the central dogma of molecular biology. So you take the original copy, like the blueprint of life, and you copy it into smaller pieces of information so that you can the cell can send it to different members of or parts within the cell to read it and say, okay, this is what we need to do to build this place. I'm just thinking funny, when I moved into my apartment, I had the manual for how to build my table, and then I had my friends who were reading the manual in sections. Mike was one of them, and helping build my kitchen table. So the kitchen table is the protein. That's the thing that we're trying to build with this vaccine, is they're taking the smaller clips of information about step 1. So your body can recognize, when you see this, that's the leg. That's the thing that's going to represent COVID in that respect. So when you do it, you're not getting the original blueprint that gives you all of the pieces. So you're not getting the full virus itself, but you're getting the outside piece of the virus, so you can recognize that's what a table leg looks like when you see a table leg attack. And that so your body can recognize that that's the thing that's the harm to you. And if you only have a table leg, you can't sit at it, you can't eat at it. Like, it doesn't function fully like the way, if you had the full virus or if you had the full table, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And just to add to that too, our body does not like to hoard waste. So once it's done reading those instructions, it gets rid of it. It's destroyed in a cellular process. Literally, there's compartments within our cells which are like the garbage disposals. They get rid of things that are no longer needed. So this isn't just lingering around in your body, altering your DNA. It doesn't work that way. And we just want to make that clear. I know that's a ramifications or consequences of this vaccine will be. We, as science, I guess, people, and also as future medical professionals, are here to tell you that we are more concerned about the side effects of COVID itself, which have been at this point pretty well studied, than the side effects of a vaccine. So that is definitely something to think about, the risk versus benefits of the vaccine versus getting COVID itself. Now, that being said, the studies do say that if you have tested positive for COVID within the last 90 days, it is not recommended that you get the vaccine. They are recommending that you wait 90 days till after you were infected. to then receive the vaccine. Now you might be saying, hey, well, I had COVID, for example, March and April. Um, I have antibodies. So do I need a vaccine? Well, we don't know how long these antibodies are going to last. So what we're trying to do is to just strengthen that immune response. So therefore, it is safe to get the vaccine, even if you had COVID more than 90 days ago. Um, and as far as importance of vaccine, what is it with the vaccine? Why are people pushing for as many people as possible to get the vaccine? Um, Basically, we're trying to get to a point where the population is immune at a certain percentage, whereas uh, a spread won't be as inevitable as it is now. I don't know if you want to paint it in another picture, and
Yeah. It's like the goal of every vaccine that we have. So if you think of chicken pox, I want to say varicella chicken pox, HPV, all of the vaccines that you probably had as a child, MMR, etc. The goal is so that if the virus or the bacteria, in this case it's a virus, if it comes to your body, you don't get sick from it, right? So it's not to say that you may not ever encounter the COVID virus again in your lifetime. I'm sure that you might actually be exposed to it. But instead of potentially having the effects of the disease of COVID, meaning like where you'll have difficulty with maybe the breathing or the body aches, which we call myalgia, or the headaches, or the not being able to smell and to taste, all of those symptoms are demonstrating that the virus itself is replicating within your body and producing that type of response from you. The goal of the vaccine is to prevent that, because sequela, or things that come as a result of being infected, are the things that we're more concerned about than the fact that, okay, I had the virus, I felt bad for a couple of days, and now I'm good. So that's what the point of a vaccine is. It's so that if I'm exposed to someone with chickenpox, I don't myself get all the itchy spots all over and I'm scratching for several days, and then several years when I'm in my 60s or 70s, I then have shingles, because that's the same virus. So the goal is to prevent you from having the disease of the virus, or what the disease that the virus causes, if that makes sense.
and this kind of goes back. I don't think we mentioned. I know some people are also questioning, like, well, why do we need 2 doses versus 1 dose? Why do we have to wait for Pfizer? It's a 21-day period. For Moderna, it's a 28-day period. You want to just explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So that's kind of the same thing when we're talking about going back to boot camp, right? Your body, when you go to boot camp's not just one day, right? On the first day, I'm sure they sit you down, welcome to United States Armed Forces. Like, you're getting this introduction to how to be a good soldier. So the vaccine, the first dose, is kind of that introduction. This is what the enemy looks like. So when you see something that looks like this, you should respond in this way to make sure that you get it out of your system and out of your body, which is like your home country that you're protecting. But you don't just have one day of class and then say, I'm officially a soldier of the United States. No, you're going to stay through the process. And after a month or so, you might have a test, right? So that you're going to run through the field and, do target practice, and you recognize foreign enemy, not foreign enemy, foreign enemy, not foreign enemy. The goal of the second dose is to boost your ability to recognize the foreign enemy, which in this case is COVID. So to your body, COVID is the outsider that's trying to hurt how your body functions and moves on a regular basis. And the goal is to train your immune system, which is your body's defense, like your defense unit, to recognize it and attack. So that's why you do 2 doses. And it's actually really similar to, if you think of children, I want to go to pediatrics, the children, when you do those vaccines as an infant, it's 2 months, 4 months, 6 months for majority of those first, start of life vaccines. So hepatitis B, not MMR, but hepatitis B, rotavirus, all of those things that your child gets when they're, a little itty bitty baby, to protect them from the environment around them. It's usually done in more than 1 dose. So it's not out of the ordinary for vaccines.
Yes. Yep. So again, that after that second dose that's where these numbers, 94.5% effective, 95%, those are where these numbers really kick in. So it's important that you don't scare away after your first dose. We want you to go and get both doses, and most places actually schedule you automatically. I know I was scheduled automatically after 28 days. So this is the reason why. And now, as far as Just going back really quick, I wanted to mention something about the risk versus benefits ratio. In talking, in the long term sense, we are seeing now a lot of long term effects from COVID itself, and people who are otherwise healthy, people in their 20s and 30s, who have no significant medical history, who have no family history, who are experiencing things that they wouldn't have experienced outside of being infected from COVID, including strokes, heart attacks, um, PEs, which is basically a huge blood clot in your lung, amongst other things, chronic migraines. And these things have been studied, they are real. And this is what we're trying to also avoid by getting this vaccine is that, yes, you may get COVID and you may recover within 3 to 4 days and you're fine. And that's great. But again, we don't know in 1, 2, 5, 10 years how your body is going to continue to um, react based on the consequences of this virus. So this is the goal of the vaccine as well. So yes, these are again some of the general concerns that I've seen, I've heard, I've had myself. I spent time researching, watching, reading, and I just wanted to present this information. I hope that this helps in some sense. I know that Anna and I have been brainstorming and we are looking to do more similar videos just to kind of go into a little more detail of other aspects surrounding not only vaccines, but population health and things that might be new to you, but we're a little more familiar with. So we want to present this information. Again, if you have any specific questions or concerns, things that maybe we didn't get to address in the video, feel free to reach out, leave a comment, message us, whatever it is. We want you to feel comfortable. We're not going to be upset if you reach out to us. Again, the fear, the concern, the general unease is normal, and we don't want you to feel invalidated because of it. So again, thank you so much, Anne, for helping me with this. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something, and I hope that this helps calm any fears or concerns and just helps you to make an informed decision that doesn't feel pressured and that doesn't feel like you're not presented with enough information to make your decision. This was honestly the goal of this video. So thank you, and stay safe and stay healthy.